Welcome to Opposition Territory here at the Philadelphia Sports Table Podcast Show, the longest-running weekly Philly sports podcast show in the world. 12 years strong. We got a great guest coming on with us this week to dive into the Baltimore Ravens, a team that many of us have been following. They've been a dominant force in the AFC and in the NFL in general for many years at this point here. From Ravens over on SI, we've got our good friend Josh Reed. Buddy, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing all right, man. Today is the day where we're finding out the cuts from the teams that we follow. Before we hit the record button, you and I were talking about how we've been following here at the PST Podcast Show some of these Eagles cuts that they have announced already. They're still trickling in for you Ravens fans out there and for you reporters that are covering the Ravens. But, before we get into like really what this coming season, Josh, is going to bring for this Ravens team. Here on our Opposition Territory podcast, as of late, we've been first discussing how front offices are being run, basically team by team. And I really wanted to dive into and get your thoughts on how the Ravens front office have been making key decisions as it pertains to the future of the team, to the future of the organization as well. When you look at this recent offseason where the team and organization want to go into the future, how does this Ravens front office really sustain this positive growth for the Ravens team that we've been seeing? Because it's not easy to do here in the NFL. What are your thoughts here?
I mean, our teams are kind of really similar in that facet where they really love building through the draft and building through the trenches, and just the way the Ravens went about this offseason was really like with a forward thinking approach with a lot of things that they did. I mean, they're really patient and kind of like I said, like taking the page. I wouldn't say taking the page of the Eagles' notebook because there's been a lot of crossover between the two front offices over the years between Joe Douglas and other guys kind of crossing those wires there. But really kind of like the patient and forward thinking approach with the Ravens. The Ravens are always about depth and fortification in the trenches, and that really reflected itself in the preseason. I mean, Ravens went 3-0 again.
Yes.
Like people want to talk about the Ravens in the preseason being a preseason powerhouse, but I mean they're able to do that because they're so good at finding the depth in those trenches, on both sides of the ball. So they and as far as this offseason goes, I mean, I really love the approach, man. It was really kind of sitting back and knowing that they, the Ravens going to have a lot of offseason decisions this upcoming offseason in 2026. With so many guys entering the final year of the rookie deals, we're playing on 1-year contracts. Especially that 2022 draft class for us was really impactful. You got the Isaiah Likely's, the Travis Jones, and so many other guys that are going to be coming up for deals this year. So this year was kind of like we're not going to make the big splash in free agency this year. Usually they're usually good for at least 1 or 2 big splashes. Like last year was Derrick Henry, and now that they had DeAndre Hopkins, but that wasn't even really a big splash because they only spent like $5 million on it. So it's really
true.
They really believe in the right player, right price mentality, and they did it so many times throughout this offseason with the DeAndre Hopkins, with the Chidobe Awuzie, with the Jair Alexander's kind of swooping in and getting him in the late summer. People are getting mad because he's already dealing with this knee issue. It's not really a knee issue; it's more of a maintenance thing. Because would you rather have like Jair Alexander in Week 1 against Buffalo, or potentially divisional round against Buffalo or Kansas City? So like the way that they go about their player maintenance, they've been over precautious with all their players as far as injury maintenance and things like that. But as far as building it up wise, man, I mean, this is really one of the deepest Ravens teams I've seen in quite some time, and they've really fortified themselves at literally every level of defense, offensive, special teams, pretty much everywhere around.
And we're going to get into a lot of that, especially with the defense, as we're going to be concluding the discussion down the road here. But it's amazing how, again, like you said, very much like the Eagles, you are sustaining success via the depth. And that's how this team has been able to grow. And it's pretty fascinating to watch. But moving on to the offense, we, of course, have to talk about the one and only Lamar Jackson, because, boy, he has proven himself to be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. But he still has that asterisk right next to him that he just hasn't been able to get it done in the postseason. And, this year could potentially be different. And it would be interesting to see, where his growth takes him. I mean, look, it's definitely a theme I think that people are going to continue to talk about until Lamar actually gets it done in the postseason. So, Josh, I'm wondering, how have you seen his game progressing over time here? And I know we've discussed this before when you've been on the show as well, but, do you think he'll be able to get to that next level in the playoffs? What are your thoughts?
Man, I mean, Lamar has grown exponentially each year he's been in the league,
Yeah.
and especially like since he's been paired up with Todd Monken and really kind of became and started playing this more modernized offense. He has grown, I mean, light years. I mean, he's coming off the greatest dual threat season we've ever seen in NFL history. First quarterback to throw for over 4,000 yards and rush for over 900 yards. And then he had that crazy touchdown interception ratio, 41 touchdowns, only 4 picks. If you watch those 4 picks, none of them were his fault. They were either drops by somebody else or a great play by the defense, where we still gave his guys opportunities to catch the ball.
Yeah.
So about a guy who's been able to cut down his mistakes and take his production, especially as a passer, to the next level. I mean, he really got cheated at the MVP last year, and I don't have to reload it. It's really crazy when you look at compare the stats between Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and just how historic Lamar's season was last year. And it's really incredible. And as far as where he needs to do as far as taking it to the next level, I mean, he's already up there. It feels like every time like Lamar's, like, you think, oh man, can't get no better than 2019, then 2033 happens. Oh, it can't get no better than that, then 2024 happens. So now this year, I mean, this is the best collection of talent he's had around him at the receiver position in particular. You got Zay Flowers coming for Pro Bowl season. You got Rashad Bateman coming off a breakout season, and then you got DeAndre Hopkins coming in there as the savvy vet. And man, he's the best contested catch receiver the Ravens have had since I want to say Steve Smith, and then prior to that Anquan Bolden. But if he can really serve in that Anquan Bolden role the same way Anquan came up clutch for Joe Flacco during their last Super Bowl run in 2012, making those contested catches, those third down and short, third down and mediums. I'm really excited about this group of pass catchers and running back talent that he has behind him and around him.
Well, that's a really good segue, Josh, into the next topic I was going to be getting into with you, because I think it's safe to assume that we're going to see a pretty heavy presence in the run game this year with Derrick Henry. They don't bring him in and make that big splash in free agency last year just to, occasionally use him. I mean, we're going to see a healthy dose of Derrick Henry this year, just like we are with the Eagles in terms of Saquon Barkley as well. But with regard to the Ravens here, we know that over the years, Lamar Jackson has become a more prolific passer. How many years ago the questions were prevalent in terms of whether or not Lamar Jackson could be a passer in this league. Was he just going to be using his legs? But no, he has become a prolific passer. And you were just mentioning a lot of the weaponry that he's going to have in terms of the receiving core. But I'm wondering, how do you see the offense moving forward, balancing out that rushing attack with Derrick Henry and even the depth at running back and the passing game this year as well? What are your thoughts here?
I mean, they were extremely balanced last year, man. I mean, ever since Todd Monken came in, they've been one of the more balanced, not just balanced, but explosive offenses in both the run and the pass year after year. So we're talking about going to year 3 with him and Todd Monken. I mean, sky's the limit for this team, man. I mean, Derrick Henry was like 80 something yards short of 2,000 last year. Wasn't for Saquon Barkley, he would have had his fourth or fifth rushing title last year. But yeah, this team is incredibly balanced and incredibly deep. I mean, the guys that they got with Justice Hill and Derrick Henry, you got one of the better veteran 1-2 combos in the league. Justice Hill is very underrated pass catching back, and he's still a good slasher on the ground too, and one of the best pass protectors in the league. And then also we have this year, I wouldn't say secret weapon because he flashed as a rookie, but was injured for most of last year. Keaton Mitchell, he's a guy that made the team with undrafted rookie in 2023. Kind of took the league by storm there in the middle of that season before tearing his ACL in when I believe it was week 11 against the Jaguars on Monday Night Football or something like that. But either way, he's a guy that's fully healthy, back up to speed, even feeling faster than ever now. So it'll be a factor for them, not just on offense, but it's on kick return too with the new dynamic kickoff rules. And then, man, it's going to be really balanced in the prolific offense, I feel like, again.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fascinating to see how the teams within the division, in the AFC North division, how they're going to handle this Ravens team. I think it's going to be very, very difficult for sure. But we're going to be taking a break here in a bit, folks. Josh, really quick, let everybody know where they can find you on social media. Again, where they can find you on the interwebs, just so if they can follow you, if they want to get in touch with you, get into some Ravens content as well.
Yes, all my Ravens content is on Ravens on SI. That's the Sports Illustrated Substack for the Ravens. A lot of great writers over there, including myself. I want to toot my own horn here, but I put a lot of hard work and blood, sweat, and tears into my work, and I take a lot of pride in it.
That's why I ask you to come on, man. Seriously, you do a great job. You do a great job. And look, folks, if you are watching on YouTube here at the Philadelphia Sports Table Podcast Show's YouTube channel, like and subscribe. We greatly appreciate that. And if you're also watching, you'll see our social media sites here. We are on Instagram. You can search us out on the Twitter/X at Philadelphia PST. I'm over on TikTok at Mr. Jeff Warren. Like our Facebook page. We're on Threads as well. Eric and I are over on Blue Sky as well. Like I said, we're going to take a break to pay some bills. We're going to be back in just a bit with a lot more Ravens talk. All right, we are back with our good friend Josh Reed from the Ravens over on SI. Great content as always. But I wanted to shift now over to the defense, Josh, and talk about this Ravens defense. They're always such a factor year after year after year. And look, a lot of us know the big-time players on the defense at this point. The Ravens almost always have strong defensive players year after year after year. But I'm wondering if there is anyone flying under the radar, perhaps, that we need to keep our eyes on this year in terms of this defense. Who might that be, and what are they going to bring to the defense?
A few guys that three in particular. Third year guy Trenton Simpson. He was the third round pick in 2023. He kind of took over for Patrick Queen in that will linebacker role last year. Didn't quite go as well for him. He ended up getting benched. I think after the Eagles game. I think when they played the Eagles,
okay,
he was the regular starter up until week 13, and then after that he kind of took a step back and he was kind of replaced in the lineup by a combination of Malik Harrison and Chris Board in the back end. But dude, he's come back with a vengeance this offseason, and he's really come up poised to take a big leap this year. He had a monster game in that preseason finale against the Commanders. He had like a sack and a half, a strip sack, tipped a pass for an interception. He's a guy that's really taking a big leap this. I think it's going to take a big leap this year. And then two undrafted rookies who are slated to make the team. One who was officially kind of announced as locked into the 53-man roster, and then one who's kind of been balling ever since rookie minicamp. There's the safety Ruben Lowry out of Tennessee Chattanooga. He's a guy that I can really kind of see filling that Geno Stone role that the Ravens really missed last year, especially as that backup free safety kind of guy who can play single high and free up Kyle Hamilton to do more things. And then Keon Martin, he's a guy out of the University of Louisiana Lafayette, really one of the biggest stars of the preseason. Had a pick six in the finale against the Commanders, had a safety for a sack for a safety against the Cowboys the week before that. And he's a guy that can really factor in to the nickel depth behind Marlon Humphrey and also on special teams. So those are three guys that really been to look out for the Ravens defense as far as flying under their radar.
For you NFL fans out there, keep your eyes on these guys. Josh has a really good pulse on what's happening with this team. They're certainly going to be a factor this season. Well, moving along, Josh, I wanted to get your thoughts on the Ravens secondary as well, because again, we're talking about the depth and how strong the depth is with this Ravens team. And it's going to pay dividends, I think, for them, whether there's injuries, whether something comes up with whatever player, they have the depth there. And you recently wrote a piece after one of the recent preseason games were over at Baltimore Ravens on SI, talking about how the young defensive backs were just really dazzling. And we're talking about the depth here. I think it's a very interesting crop of young players behind Nate Wiggins, Jair Alexander, and Marlon Humphrey. So if one of these starters should happen to go down, how do you see the depth really shaking out in the secondary?
Oh, I really love the Ravens' versatility and depth back in the back end, because a guy like Ruben Lowry, who I just mentioned, not only does he play safety, he can also play nickel corner. And then you have a guy like Marlon Humphrey who can play outside, inside, and outside. And then Jair Alexander has a checkered injury history. We all know what kind of happened down with him in Green Bay.
Yep.
What I love what the Ravens did, they kind of back-ended it with, so they have Chidobe Awuzie, who's also been injury prone in his own right. But if you can piecemeal together a full season from Chidobe Awuzie and Jair Alexander, that's top three quarterbacks in the league right there.
It is. It absolutely is, man. The depth within this Ravens secondary, second to none. All right. Well, to conclude here, Josh, and I've been getting into this with every guest that we have on our Opposition Territory podcast on a weekly basis here, talking about the biggest concerns for this Ravens team heading into this NFL season, and also what you're least concerned about heading into this season as well. Let's start with the biggest concern. We're talking about a lot of depth. We're talking about how dominant the Ravens have been. Are there any concerns for you here with this team?
I mean, not many, man. To be honest with you, I'm like they really kind of foolproof this roster. Even at the backup quarterback position, God forbid Lamar has to miss any time, but they went out this offseason and made the most significant investment they've made at backup quarterback in about 5 years since they had RG3, and by bringing in Cooper Rush from the Cowboys. And I know as an Eagles fan, you're not really too crazy about Cooper Rush, but he's proven as one of the better backups in the league, man. He's a guy that can come in and operate an offense. And he's no Lamar Jackson, you know what I'm saying? Nobody's Lamar Jackson.
Exactly.
But he's a guy that, especially over the last 2 preseason games, came in and really showed he could operate the offense at a high level, even just running with the twos. So I mean, really, I'm not really concerned with too much about this team. Really, just maybe not. I don't know, because I feel like they're going to start fast too. But maybe I guess my concern would be they really have a gauntlet coming out of the gate in the beginning of the season. I mean, I think 5 of their first 6 opponents were playoff teams last year, and 4 of them were division winners. Okay. So I mean, starting fast, and then maybe not having Isaiah Likely for that week 1 game against the Bills. Given that he's coming off a minor foot surgery, but right. I'd rather have Isaiah Likely for the long haul than just got to have him that first week against the Bills. You still have Mark Andrews and Charlie Kohler. So this team is deep, but they got a gauntlet coming out the gates. And in the AFC, where you got the Chiefs and the Bills and so many other elite contenders, you really got to have to start fast. And they've kind of teeter-tottered with fast starts these past couple of years. So the fast start would be essential to this year's team.
All right. Well, what are you least concerned about? I mean, there's so much that you could say, I'm not concerned about this. I'm not concerned about this. I don't know. What are you least concerned about? I mean, I would imagine it would probably be the quarterback or running back position.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it right on the head, man. I'm least concerned about Lamar Jackson, man. I feel like anytime that guy's healthy, we got a chance to go the distance, man. And so I'm really uber confident in him, his ability this year. And then also the running back, just like having Derrick Henry, the guy that guy back there, really the best running back we've had since Ray Rice, or even most prolific we've had since Jamal Lewis. So he's a guy that I'm really confident in, and he's continues to defy the test of time. I feel like he's kind of the Tom Brady of running backs as far as being able to still produce at the elite level in the twilight of his career, where people say he shouldn't be able to keep doing that. And then, like I said, having Justice Hill and Keaton Mitchell, and even a guy like Rasheen Ali, who coming into the training camp was on the bubble, but really kind of played his way into a roster spot both on special teams and on offense. So the Ravens are 4 deep at running back, 2 deep at quarterback, and deep everywhere else, man. So I'm pretty confident.
Absolutely. All right. Again, folks, he is Josh Reed. Josh, before we let you go, man, tell everybody where they can find you on the interwebs out there.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, Josh Reed 907 because I'm born and raised and still live in Alaska. So
there you go.
Yeah, that's where you can find me.
But you want to talk about somebody who is really in tune with their team and live like the furthest possible place away from that team? That's Josh Reed, folks. That's who it is, for sure.
Absolutely.
Josh, man, thanks so much for jumping on our Opposition Territory pod. Come back, join us down the road. I'd love to talk to you again, my friend.
Yeah, man, my lines are always open. You can always hit me up whenever you want me on.